Prince Harry stunned after House of Lords moves to remove his royal titles. The battle no one expected just exploded, and it could rewrite royal history. Imagine waking up one morning to headlines claiming that the very foundation of your identity, your titles, your legacy, your public role, was suddenly under siege. No official warning, no gentle palace briefing, just a political thunderclap rolling out of Westminster. That, insiders say, is exactly how Prince Harry felt when news broke that members of the House of Lords were angling to strip him of his royal titles. It sounds like a plot twist in The Crown, except this time, it's happening off-screen, not in a Netflix dramatization. But before you grab your tea or popcorn, the real question is this: how did we get here? What does it actually mean? And what happens next? If this article were a royal tour, consider this the moment the car door shuts, the cameras flare, and the crowd collectively gasps. Because what unfolds from here isn't just debate, it's disruption. By the end of this piece, you'll understand the legal mechanics, historical precedents, emotional landmines, and global implications of a move that has sent shockwaves from the UK to Hollywood, from Buckingham Palace to Canberra, and from critics to supporters. Let's unpack the drama. The House of Lords enters the chat, and it's armed with a bill. The British monarchy has weathered rebellions, abdications, tabloid scandals, diplomatic spats, even the invention of the internet. But the one arena it rarely goes toe-to-toe in? Parliamentary title legislation. And yet, in recent years, a small but increasingly vocal political faction has advanced the notion that royals who step away from formal duties, criticize the institution, or reside permanently abroad should no longer retain their aristocratic honors. At the heart of this current moment is talk of the titles deprivation mechanism, a legislative pathway that allows Parliament to intervene in exceptional circumstances. Historically, this process was used during wartime to remove peerages from aristocrats who sided with enemy nations. The irony is as sharp as a palace sword displayed behind glass. It took global conflict to set the precedent for removing titles. Now pundits wonder if internal conflict might do the same. Why does this matter? Because Harry's titles, Duke of Sussex, Earl of Dumbarton, and Baron Kilkeel, aren't just sentimental labels. They are legally embedded recognitions granted by the sovereign. To revoke them would require political consensus, constitutional care, and a willingness to cross an invisible Rubicon of modern monarchy. But here's the twist most casual observers miss. It would not affect his birthright status as a prince. That is not a parliamentary title. It is a royal style conferred at birth. So, while the bill zeroes in on peerage titles tied to territorial designations and House of Lords privileges, it opens a bigger existential question. Can parts of royal identity be unstitched while others stay intact? And if so, which part hurts more? Losing constitutional privilege or losing symbolic legacy? Curious where the bill's momentum really comes from? That's about to get interesting. Public opinion is the real parliament, and it's split down the aisle. Let's be honest. If voters had ermine robes and red benches, half of Britain would be standing behind Harry, the other half shaking heads like disapproving courtiers. Because this isn't just legal, it's personal. Those who admire the Sussexes see the move as retaliation. A political flex aimed at a prince who dared to challenge royal norms on media intrusion, mental health, institutional transparency, and the cost of service. Critics, on the other hand, see something else entirely, an argument about duty versus discretion, a long-running tension in royal expectations. If you withdraw from service, should you withdraw from symbols too? Can you critique the institution while wearing its honors? Should titles function like corporate roles and used after resignation? Or like hereditary heirlooms, yours forever, even when boxed away? Historically, monarchy relies on symbolic permanence. Titles pass through centuries like slow caravans, each generation adding a turn, a footnote, a layer of dust and grandeur. But the Sussex model of modern royalty, especially post-2020, introduced dynamic impermanence. Stepping away yet staying visible, leaving duty yet retaining voice. The public wasn't prepared for a royal who's both within and outside, both part and apart, both embraced and embattled. Hence the divide feels more emotional than constitutional. Picture this scene. One half of the crowd shouting, "Leave him be." the other whispering you can't have it both ways. And Harry, somewhere in the middle, trying to wave diplomatically while lightning crashes overhead. But here's the shocker. The longer this debate rages publicly, the more it reveals a monarchy facing brand coexistence issues. Because love or loathing aside, Harry still drives global engagement, and politics is finally catching up to that fact. But does global interest translate into legal protection? Stay with me. Not the first duke to face a crown crack, just the first in the internet era. Title removals are incredibly rare, but existential exile is not. Let's rewind. Edward VIII gave up the throne itself for love, becoming Duke of Windsor instead. Titles intact, but constitutional trust fractured. Princess Diana lost HRH styling post-divorce, but remained the people's princess in public imagination. Protocol versus persona colliding spectacularly. Prince Andrew stepped back from duties, losing patronages and some functional privileges, but not peerages. Disgrace without deprivation. The difference now? Harry's case is hypervisible, narrative factory-powered, meme-accelerated, and global press optimized. This debate isn't being whispered between lords and ladies in oak chambers. It's being live-streamed by the world's opinion algorithm, which makes Harry not just a participant, but a case study in royal redefinition, constitutional limits of identity insurance, the difference between legal titles and public role titles, and the psychological impact of having your job description debated by people who don't technically employ you. It's uncharted territory. The monarchy is used to opposition, but not identity reduction proposals with audience analytics attached. So yes, precedent exists, but never at this speed, scale, or global scrutiny. And that speed brings another question. Is the bill targeting the man or the footage of the man? Let's explore that friction next. Titles, tours, trauma, and TikTok. The real collision course. Royal titles traditionally serve four primary functions. Constitutional privilege. Example, sitting in the House of Lords, legislative influence. Territorial identity. Example, of Sussex, of Cornwall, linking crown to country. Institutional responsibility. Example, patronages, formal duties. Social hierarchy symbolism. Example, protocol order, state occasions, historical continuity. Post-Megxit, Harry retained the symbolic layer, number 4. But dropped the institutional layer, number 3. He lost constitutional participation, number 1, functionally, but not legally. Territorial identity, number 2, remains intact, but politically questioned. Social symbolism, number 4, is contentious but not constitutionally defined. Translation into plain English? He still wears the badges, but surrendered the job. And politics is finally debating whether the badges imply occupancy or ownership. Add the internet, and the optics amplify everything. A duke at a gas station was dramatic. A duke signing Netflix deals was disruptive. A duke giving interviews was polarizing. But a duke with his titles debated politically? That's historic rebranding tension. Imagine this visual. A red bench legislative chamber. Ermine robes. Gavel echoes. Then smash cut to someone holding a smartphone saying, "Did you see this?" It's the clash of political gravity and digital virality. But if these titles go, what falls with them? The answer isn't obvious. Yet, next section, the one that really shocked Harry. Why the Sussex line is different, and why Harry was blindsided. Here's the emotional crux of the issue. For William, titles are career trajectory. For Charles, titles are destiny plus administration. For most peers, titles are aristocratic inheritance or sovereign reward. But for Harry, titles were compensation for sacrifice, not career, not ambition, not hierarchy, sacrifice. Military deployments. Frontline royal tours. Emotional labor after Diana's death. Media pursuit trauma. Public persona pressure. His peerage was granted in 2018 with immense public goodwill, seen as ceremonial recognition of the institution he served, not the institution he managed. So the political argument that he resigned from duties and thus should lose his titles does not psychologically land the same for Harry as it would for any other peer, because his titles were not a role. They were a royal medal pinned after surviving the role. And now, supporters argue, some lords want to take the medal back, claiming it implies participation he no longer has, even though metal ownership was never defined by occupancy in the first place. Harry expected political criticism. He expected tabloid attacks. He did not expect legislative reduction proposals rooted in 20th century war law. He was blindsided because no duke in history has ever lost titles for a care home defiance scandal, a TV deal, or an Oprah interview. And Harry thought history would protect him from that path being reopened at all. But now that the bill is moving, everyone is asking the same cliffhanger question. If it was possible in war, is it possible in divisive peace? And more personally for Harry, was this about fairness or fallout? About resignation or reprisal? About protocol or punishment? But just when the debate hit fever pitch, an unexpected voice emerged. Here's another twist. The royalty commentators and constitutional lawyers are not aligned. Royal experts speak emotionally, institutionally, symbolically. They weigh optics, precedent damage, brand confusion, duty perceptions, personal narratives, public sentiment. Legal experts speak procedurally. They weigh statute limits, constitutional constraints, the difference between royal style and peerage, legislative thresholds, sovereign authority, and the absence of treason or wartime allegiance shift. Royal commentary says, this has never happened before and sets a dangerous modern precedent. Legal commentary says, this has only happened under treason or wartime enemy allegiance. None of that applies here. It's like watching two judges deliberate, one holding a crown, one holding a constitution. So which voice matters more? The House of Lords is responding to the crown of public opinion, not necessarily the letter of constitutional thresholds. But Harry's shock wasn't just about possibility. It was about precedent selection. Because applying a wartime statute to a modern personal dispute is like trying to unlock a biometric door using a skeleton key. It technically could fit, if everyone agrees it should fit. But the real constitutional question is bigger than Harry. Who guards royal identity? The sovereign, the public, or Parliament itself? And that leads to a frightening hypothetical Harry reportedly asked privately. If they can propose this for me, who could they propose it for next? Because this bill was never just one man's headline. It's a new chapter in how the monarchy interacts with legislative accountability in the digital age. But there's more. What actually happens if titles are removed? A breakdown. Let's break down the mechanics cleanly, without fluff. White heavy checkmark. What would change? He would no longer legally be Duke of Sussex, Earl of Dumbarton, or Baron Kilkeel. Any House of Lords privilege claim tied to peerage would be nullified symbolically. UK's line of future legislation/patronage designation around Sussex might be politically reshuffled. Formal protocol styling tied specifically to those peerages would stop being used in state documents. Future coronation seating plans, archival registries, and peerage rolls would reflect the deprivation if passed. Crossmark. What would not change? He does not cease to be a prince. That requires sovereign action, not Parliament. It does not affect succession placement automatically. It does not remove HRH unless the monarch separately intervenes, already not actively used post-2020 duties. It does not revoke his marriage, children's line of descent, or their prince/princess eligibility under current letters patent of 1917 and 2012 reforms. It does not affect his citizenship, private business rights, or international legal identity. It does not erase public persona styling or audience/media reference usage. People will still call him Duke socially, even if legally deprived. So the critical nuance is this. It changes peerage registry, not princely identity. But psychologically, this distinction does not soften the blow. Because losing a Duke title, even if ceremonial, feels emotionally like losing a limb everyone can still see, but you're told you don't own anymore. So where does the bill actually stand now? And what is the chance it succeeds? That uncertainty itself is the next mini hook. So why now? Why Harry? Why titles? Here are the three biggest political motivations observers identify. 1. Constitutional participation anxiety. A duke who doesn't serve institutionally but serves narratively disrupts clarity. Westminster prefers definitional roles. 2. Territorial branding concern. Sussex is a UK region. Should someone permanently abroad still hold a legal territorial designation? 3. Institutional deterrence. A political message disguised as personal legislation. If you critique, you risk compensation symbols too. Harry believed stepping down meant functional exit, not title exit. But politics appears to be reframing exit terms retroactively, which means we now watch a constitutional experiment in real time. Can Parliament act symbolically against a royal peerage without affecting royal blood status? Yes. Will it feel like punishment anyway? Also yes. Was it meant to? That question is now trending globally. But there's another twist tied to Harry's personal response that no legislation can define. If there's one immutable truth about Prince Harry, it's this. You cannot legislate how the world remembers you. You can legislate peerage rolls, archival registries, formal styling. You cannot legislate documentary deals, search engagement, public fascination, emotional affinity, algorithmic watch time, or global persona authority. If global attention were a title, he would be Duke of Digital Retention, Earl of Algorithmic Curiosity, Baron of Audience Engagement. Those titles don't exist constitutionally, but they hold real power in image economics and global narrative influence. So even if the House of Lords successfully removes his legal peerage, it risks creating a paradox, where the world still calls him Duke socially, while the UK peerage registry claims he is not. Isn't that the most modern monarchy plot twist imaginable? But then again, modern monarchy is now full of twists no one saw coming. Speaking of which, Meghan's reaction, Hollywood's reaction, and the Commonwealth's reaction. Now that the bill is moving, let's talk about the ripple effects. United Kingdom UK public. Split. Passionate. Emotional. Highly engaged. Clapperboard Hollywood. Supportive but pragmatic. Titles don't matter in Netflix pitch decks or IMDb bios. Persona does. Globe showing Asia, Australia, Commonwealth nations. Diplomatic caution. Some political leaders have historically pushed back against expensive royal tours, private jets, and protocol clashes. But stripping a UK peerage title feels like a UK internal affair that still shifts global optics. Australia. Particularly sensitive given the Sussexes' projected media draw for future tours, philanthropic appearances, and soft diplomacy. Critics wonder if removing titles might complicate formal invitations, even though it doesn't affect princely styling. Cameroon, your region IRL. Indirect audience interest. Royals remain global content currency, not constitutional participants. Canada, New Zealand, South Africa. Watching closely. They live inside a constitutional monarchy model that Harry once represented in real-time tours. United States America. Unbothered legally, but very bothered narratively. This is headline gold. And if there's one thing we know about royal headlines, the world doesn't watch the rules. It watches the reactions to the rules. Which leads to the biggest cliffhanger of all. Will this bill fizzle like palace fireworks, or crack like constitutional thunder? But the storm isn't done yet. 10 biggest myths about royal title removal, debunked clearly. This removes him from who he is. No, it removes peerage, not royal blood status. He stops being Prince Harry. Incorrect. Prince styling is sovereign, not parliamentary. This affects succession automatically. No. Succession is separate from peerage legislation. Harry needs to commit treason to lose titles. Legally, precedent suggests yes. Politically, consensus could still attempt it symbolically. Meghan loses titles too. Only if her peerage designation is legally tied and similarly legislated. Currently not the primary target. The king must sign this off. The sovereign granted the titles. Parliament proposing deprivation creates constitutional friction, but needs political consensus, not a signature alone. HRH goes with peerage. No, already not actively used due to stepping back, but not revoked. This erases historical record. No, it updates it, not erases it. This ends Harry's public role. Absolutely not. Public role is narrative-driven globally, not title-driven constitutionally. This is just politics, not monarchy. Wrong. This is politics and monarchy colliding publicly for the first time in the digital era. So what actually happens next? No one with constitutional authority is saying definitively, which means we are all waiting for the next page to turn. And just like every gripping royal saga, it will.